Hello and welcome back to the Premier Injuries channel. This is a short insight from the team here into another kind of interesting growing trend in player recovery. Today we're talking about hyperbaric oxygen chamber that are used to aid footballers' recovery. Ben, just quickly from your perspective, I mean, who are a few examples of players that people will know that are using these?
Yeah, I mean, recent return, long-term injury recovery, Josh De Silva from Brentford, in a recent interview with The Athletic, he stated that for the first 30 days of picking up his injury, he spent in and around an hour in one of those hyperbaric chambers to aid his recovery. But for me, what I'm most particularly interested, and a lot of FPL managers, given that Newcastle have a double game weeks coming up, is the return potentially of Alan Saint-Maximin. Now, we heard ahead of game week 27 that Eddie Howe said that Saint-Maximin would have a late fitness test. But what we do know, up until Thursday of that week, he had actually been in Monaco getting some intensive treatment, which involved sessions within one of those oxygen chambers. Now, on his return to the team, Eddie Howe then stated actually he wasn't really very close. And as it currently stands, there are still question marks over his availability for game week 28. As of Wednesday, as of recording, he still hasn't been seen on the training pitches. We know that the injury was several kicks, as it was referenced, to in and around that calf area. So, fortunately, it didn't appear, on the surface to be very serious, but, we're looking at least 2.5 weeks in and we're yet to see Saint-Maximin train fully.
So, Raj, let's strip it down to the basics here. What is a hyperbaric chamber? What's its use?
So essentially, the underlying rationale is that we know oxygen helps deliver healing ingredients to your muscles or all your body parts. So with the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, essentially you're trying to push more O2 oxygen into your lungs and therefore throughout your system, which then expedites the healing process, right? That's the basics of it. Other examples, Harvey Elliott used it. He used it a couple of different ways. He used a portable oxygen concentrator. I think he also used the more typical one where you actually sit inside of it. I know Cristiano Ronaldo swears by it, but he swears by lots of stuff. And so, there's he's used it throughout his career, and so you can't argue with the results. Not even, football focused, but like LeBron James swears by it as well. The research on it, like any of these kind of, is relatively new technology. All of this one's on the scope of things. It's been used for a while. It's mixed. It's hard to really give a validated response to how much it helps. I think the big thing here is with footballers and clubs where money is no concern, it's why not try it and see if it helps, right?
Yeah, this is something that Ben and I explored a few weeks ago with Cristiano Ronaldo going into the hyper cooled chamber. I forget the exact wording of that, but kind of
Yep.
visiting the evidence there. Once again, kind of repeating your process, Raj, that it might not have been amazing, overwhelming evidence that it works for what is targeted, but there is a psychological element to this, almost a placebo
Mhm.
effect, which is immeasurable. And so would you say from that perspective, somebody like yourself who has good knowledge about the psychology of players, is that something that you can't put a price on, that they're almost convinced that they're coming back quicker?
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive. I mean, that's why, Ben's favorite Pogba jets off to warm weather, right? Same thing, psychological. So, uh, same thing we talked about so many times, right? Whether it's warm weather trips, whatever it is, the mental benefits, they're not very quantifiable. But, I mean, just think about the way that you feel. Think about the way that I feel when I'm in a nice climate versus when it's, dark and rainy outside. So that's always going to be beneficial generally. So, if you can help give a player some of those things, especially when they're going through a tougher time with injury, it's always going to be helpful. And when it comes to the cryotherapy chambers, I mean, certain clubs, I think actually Newcastle, they have like massive ones installed at the facilities. So I mean, that's actually one of the kind of cryotherapy in general, starting with ice baths and now these hyper, like, intensive cryotherapy chambers is one of the kind of probably older technologies that we see used for footballers and recovery.
So with the hyperbaric chamber as well, we talked about the cryo chamber. People try and replicate that with the ice in, a bath or whatever that methodology there. Is there a comparable, thing that we can do? Obviously, we don't have the budget of these teams. Or is this something that's really like high tech and possibly a danger if you try to recreate anything like that at home?
Yeah, hyperbaric chamber you can't really recreate. I mean, and with the ice bath, it's actually research based more effective than a cryotherapy chamber. But with oxygen, you're literally pumping in oxygen into a closed environment, right? And so, don't try that at home, kids.
Do the chambers, do certain injuries respond better within these chambers, or is it just a case of, like I say, it's the suggestion of this pure oxygen that aids, in theory, that recovery process, regardless of whether it's a soft tissue or a bone injury?
Yeah, I believe it's more soft tissue. That's what it's typically used for. But I haven't seen, again, I don't know there's enough. I don't know if I've seen any research on hyperbaric and specific injuries. There might be. There might be. I just haven't looked into it. That's a
Yeah.
great topic to look into. But my guess is, I mean, players use it for recovery in general, right? And so I think a lot of it is just that subjective feeling of, hey, oh, I got my recovery in, whatever it is. So, and that can be helpful. And there's plenty. The most supportive research of hyperbaric chambers is how players rate themselves feeling afterwards. So, and which is a key thing. Which is a key thing. If you feel better, I say if you feel better, you typically, you are better because that's just how you feel. Perception is reality in the end with a lot of these things.
I guess the final question for you, Raj, then is like is the ultimate recovery recipe then cryo chamber, hyperbaric chamber whilst you're in Dubai relaxing on the beach? I mean, is that the
Yeah,
possible?
all the same time.
However, that's possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think people have a good insight there into another, I think, a really cool, fascinating way that these players are trying to get an edge on their competitors against one another. But for you to have maybe an edge, whether you're playing FPL or whether you're just interested in your own recovery, please do subscribe to Premier Injury's channel. We've got so many good experts, so much good data here to answer all your questions. You can comment below if you do have player specific questions. Please like the video and we will be here again very soon to answer your questions. But for now, good luck and stay in good health.